Coming up on show 848, we look at Tesla's profitable year and their future plans, and I'll give you my take on the news this week. Well, Tesla's fourth quarter of profit is discussed today. The Cybertruck has a base and work has begun already. What else is going to be made in Texas? We'll find out. How's the solar roof looking? Why are Tesla aiming at the insurance industry? And more affordable models from the company. A lot to discuss on the podcast today. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening around the world. Welcome to EV News Daily. I am playing catch up. This is what happened on Thursday, 23rd of July, releasing this show a little later than I would like to, but as I mentioned earlier this week, it was my birthday midweek, so I took some family time, and for those that listen to the podcast a long time, in December we did become a family, and so it's nice to have had just a couple of days of enjoying. First birthday has been a daddy. Anyway, thank you as well to myev.com. Always say thank you to these guys. They help me make the show. If you're in the US, you are so lucky to have this as a resource at myev.com. You can check out the world's first marketplace exclusively, specifically for electric vehicles. And it's totally free. So if you're buying and selling, what are you waiting for? Big headline then, big headline this week. Headlines from CNBC. I thought I'd start off with these. Tesla reported the first full year of profits, along with the second quarter results late yesterday, I should say, because of the time difference into the early hours of Thursday morning. I was reading about this. Well, Tesla said its revenue reached $6.04 billion in the quarter alone. It's just a huge amount of money, isn't it? And things are heading upwards. $428 million of regulatory credits. And if you're new to the podcast or just don't take that much of an interest, it's where other car makers aren't building enough EVs yet. And so they have to buy credits from those that are making EVs, i.e. Tesla. Happens in the US, and actually more recently with a deal with Fiat Chrysler with FCA here in Europe as well, which I've still never fully got to the bottom of that detailed arrangement. They seem to be pooling with them. In other words, here in Europe, there are new emissions regulations, but FCA seem to have been able to pool with Tesla and share. Now, of course, Tesla don't have any emissions in their fleet because every single car is full electric, and so that's been financially beneficial as well to Tesla. But it's different than simply buying credits, which is the US arrangement. Full first year of profitability on a GAAP basis, which means it can now be considered at least for inclusion into the S&P 500 index. And if it didn't end up on the S&P 500, it would be a bit of a head scratcher. CNBC says that on the earnings call last night, Elon Musk announced Tesla will build its next factory near Austin, Texas. That was the world's worst kept secret, and the company plans to dedicate Fremont in California to the production of the S and the X for all markets, and for 3 and the Y for the western half of North America. Well, the new Texas factory will be used for production of the Cybertruck. It's going to be a huge facility. The semi-truck will be made in Texas. The Model 3 and the Model Y will be made for the eastern half of North America. So 4 models coming out of the new Gigafactory. Some calling it a Terra factory in Texas. Tesla has said that its long-term plans don't include regulatory credits as a meaningful driver, but they have been recently, in fact, without these regulatory credits. They wouldn't have become eligible to join the S&P 500. RBC Capital Markets noted that credits over the last 4 quarters have amounted to $1.05 billion. So that looked like a pretty good bet to make purely electric cars, according to Yahoo Finance, who say the company said that its regulatory credits could double this year, which suggests $1.2 billion. It also reiterated the guidance of 500,000 vehicles delivered this year. 500,000 vehicles this year was the guidance 6 months ago, and with COVID and a shutdown, at least in California for 7 weeks, fair few people thought that was no longer achievable to hit 500,000 cars, but they are reiterating it. Of course, come on, they've got China now, which is expanding all the time. It added that it reached, it could be, although it added that that number could be more difficult because of supply constraints. They think they could make that many vehicles if their suppliers could supply that many parts. Elon also on the conference call said that Tesla would prioritize growth over profit. That's a real Amazon story, isn't it? I don't know if you follow things like that, but Amazon is fascinating because pretty much everything they make, people complain about these mega corporations not paying enough tax, but in Amazon's case, they do make obviously an obscene amount of money, but they tend to plow it all back into things like R&D and a lot of projects that don't come off, but a few that have come off spectacularly. So they do tend to invest a lot of their money and have just been a massive growth story. It's that we kind of have a joke that some months our paycheck would just be easier if they transferred half of it to the mortgage and half of it to Amazon, because we spend so much money on Amazon Prime. It arrives the next day. It's just easy. What with the virus as well, they just, we're in the house anyway because we're working from home. So they can see us, they ring the doorbell, leave it on, and it's contactless. Goodness me, we are a walking advert for Amazon, and that's all the results. They've got to where they are because of all that reinvestment. Now, Tesla wants to do the same. Growth over profit was the mantra, according to Elon Musk, and actually making the vehicles more affordable. According to Autoblog, Tesla affirmed its goal to deliver the 500,000 vehicles by the end of 2020. And the company delivered more than 90,000 vehicles in the second quarter, which did surpass analyst expectations. We've done a whole show on that a couple of weeks ago. Elon said that the real limitation to Tesla's growth is still, and it still remains, battery cell production at an affordable price. And he said that Tesla would expand its business with Panasonic. Lots of people, it's been such a close relationship with Panasonic, but recently with working relationships with a cell maker called CATL and LG Chem, which you probably heard of, people wondered whether that meant that they were, their eye had been turned and they were leaving Panasonic. Not at all. Panasonic recently, last couple of weeks, having a bit of a love-in with Tesla, saying very nice things, and Elon on the call saying that they're expanding with Panasonic and CATL, introducing new low-cost, long-life batteries in the Model 3, the Standard Range Plus in China, and Reuters reporting that previously that's going to happen. Those batteries are now shipping to Tesla, so they should be hitting the road. I don't know when. It would be pure speculation, but the cells at least are now heading from the suppliers to Tesla to put them into the cars. Now, Tesla, let's just get a word from Tesla. They say that our operating profit improved in quarter two despite challenging circumstances. They say positive impacts included lower operating costs because of temporary reductions in the employee compensation expense, a sequential increase in regulatory credit revenue and deferred revenue recognition related to full self-driving. Again, it is getting a little bit in the weeds, but they can defer revenue for full self-driving because it's a feature release, and they can plot that out into the future, if that makes sense, in a sentence. But anyway, 48 million, I think, was their revenue recognition of what people have paid, the 8,000 and whatever dollars or whatever it costs where you are for future features. Positive contributions are offset by costs related to factory shutdowns, they say, and as well as sequential increases in non-cash expense, primarily attributed to Elon's big old paycheck. And that's he either takes like $1. Was that Steve Jobs took $1? Maybe Elon takes nothing. But it's all about hitting those milestones to make the mega money. Although the Model Y production line was operating for about 4 months in the first half of 2020 because of COVID, they really did have to shut down so much of their US capacity and production. Now, the Model Y ramp was significantly faster than the Model 3 ramp, which took over 9 months to reach the same weekly rate. They really have learned so much from the Model 3 and applied it to the Model Y. Tesla say, we are installing additional machinery at the Fremont factory, which is expected to increase 3 and Y capacity from 400 to 500,000 units a year. So, fascinating insight into they're not standing still in California. They're still looking at ways of trying to make that facility work better, more efficiently, with more output. The Cybertruck is heading for Austin in Texas. We knew this, but I guess it helps Tesla to have a bit of a beauty parade in different areas, wanting and fighting for their business, but it was always going to be Texas, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Well, it was. Tesla have chosen Texas for their US factory. The factory will be their second North American car production, at least, and it's going to be about 15 minutes from downtown Austin near the Colorado River. Some calling it the Cybertruck Gigafactory, but it'll be a lot more than that. 3 and the Y will be made there, and the semi-truck as well. And Elon confirming that development on Giga Texas, or Terra Texas, or whatever you want to call it, actually began last weekend on July 17th. They don't hang about, do they? Let's also talk about what else is going to be made there. So yeah, Elon Musk confirming the location of Giga Texas outside Austin. Not just Cybertruck, but Tesla Semi is going to be made there. That makes sense because they're going to have so much room in this facility. Model Y and Model 3 is going to be made there for customers in the eastern United States, according to Clean Technica. I think, my take on this, one of the most exciting things is the Fremont facility is a bit of a Frankenstein's monster of the way, and people joke about making it in the Model 3 and the tent, sprung structure, but really needs must in that facility. And things are not optimal there. They do a pretty good job of minimizing shutdowns to put in new equipment or new lines, but generally, if you started with a blank sheet of paper, you wouldn't do it that way. So, in China, they did start with a blank sheet of paper, and clearly, there's things they've done in China which is very, very efficient, which they wouldn't do again. So they're not going to be doing them at Giga Berlin. They've already talked about how Giga Berlin is the best version of Tesla so far in terms of building cars. And so we know that everything they'll learn from building China, and there's so much building work still going on in China. It's a big forgotten story, largely. That's being fed into what can they learn to make the European Gigafactory in Berlin, and all of that learning will roll into Texas as well. And so with the 3 and the Y being made in Texas, they're saying it's for the eastern half of the US. I can see a time in the future when 3 and Y are only made in Texas, simply because there'll be brand new lines from a blank sheet of paper, so much more efficient than doing it in Fremont. And that's where I can see California being the base of something like the Roadster, obviously the S and the X as well. So small scale, highly skilled, and just lower volume production. Well, building vehicles in a location in the central United States will also help endear Tesla to a new set of potential customers, to electric vehicles, and the Cybertruck itself as well, having the stamp "Made in Texas" goes a long way. Tesla has risen rapidly for those in tech and clean tech and environmental segments, but largely, let's remember, you're listening to a podcast that's only about electric vehicles. I spend most of my time reading, watching, learning about electric vehicles, and getting pretty deep into the weeds at times, and talking to experts in the field, and kind of distilling that onto a 20-minute podcast or so to try and make this show available to people who are interested, but newcomers as well. And there's so many people that really, this is a mystery to them. Like, just plugging in a car is a mystery, and I forget that. I think maybe we all forget that sometimes. And so an electric truck being made in Texas, millions of truck drivers using their vehicles, not as leisure vehicles, not as adventure trucks at the weekend to tow a trailer or stick the canoe on top. We're talking about working vehicles here. Millions of truck drivers who just would never consider an electric truck. Let's look at other bits of the business very quickly before we end. Right, Solar Roof. Tesla Solar Roof was slow to ramp up because it had to find ways of testing for longevity in an accelerated environment and lower the cost and price and completion time of installations. The first hint that installations were becoming faster came when Tesla just confirmed they roughly tripled solar roof installations in Q2 versus Q1. Interesting Engineering says in its Q2 2020 financial results, they said that solar roof installations tripled in Q2 compared to Q1. We continue to expand our installation team to increase the deployment rates. As the rate of global climate change approaches a point of no return, we're not far off. Some say we've passed it. Homeowners who may jump now more so than ever at the biggest chance to take Tesla's solar roof panel offer of $1.49 a watt, signifying the possibility of the biggest yet change in US energy infrastructure, and a constant reminder: Tesla is not a car company. Tesla is a tech company, Tesla is an engineering company, and they're an energy company. They happen to make computers on wheels, and really good ones. Tesla has been testing their insurance products as well for Californian drivers. They want to be a big insurer. Elon Musk says they will be revolutionary, and he's inviting actuaries to join the cause, according to the website Insurance Journal. Yes, I'll even spend a fair amount of time reading websites like Insurance Journal to fully understand the insurance proposition from Tesla. According to Zach Kirkhorn, the CFO of Tesla, the company wants to harness the data from its telematics on the cars. Every Tesla, every EV is fully connected, but every Tesla is so connected, and every mile you drive, it's sending data back to the mothership. And that data will be used for their insurance operation way beyond California. He said that Tesla is nearly finished with testing in California and hopes to be filing that in several more states before the end of the year, and then going nationwide. Elon Musk said, and I quote, "I would love to have some high-energy actuaries. I have great respect for the actuarial profession. You guys are great at math. Please join Tesla, especially if you want to change things and you're annoyed about how slow the industry is. This is the place to be. We want revolutionary actuaries," end quote. Reminds me of that famous Steve Jobs quote when he was hiring looking for a new CEO, and he said, do you want to carry on selling, it was either Coke or Pepsi, but, fizzy drinks for the rest of your life, or do you want to change the world? And Elon using very similar language there, saying to people, come and join Tesla, come and change the world. Well, Elon said that the accuracy of information is at the heart of being a competitive insurance company. The choice is between assessing drivers that, looking in the rearview mirror, basically, or assessing them individually and looking ahead with smart projections, and that being able to inform the actions that they can take to reduce the insurance. And finally, a real quick mention: this wasn't a product announcement, it's been blown out of all proportion, but you may have seen the headline that Elon said, and I quote, "The thing that bugs me most is that our cars are not affordable enough. We need to fix that. We want to be slightly positive and maximize growth and make cars as affordable as possible," end quote. That got turned into many articles today saying that there's the Model 2, a small city car, whatever, coming from Tesla, and also mass transit like buses or minibuses. Elon has mentioned this semi-regularly over the years. This is not new. Especially things like buses or that's got several mentions over the years from Tesla. Nothing's come of it. Nothing will come of this. Don't get too carried away. That wasn't a product announcement. It's just Elon saying what his goal would be. And it's admirable, but they're not going to be making it anytime soon. Well, that's the news today. I'd love to know from you your feedback on how you feel about how Tesla influences the rest of the EV industry, rest of the car industry as well. Not just electric cars, but how you think they are being perceived and the job they're doing. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to know. Well, you can listen to all... Oh, hang on. I've not done the music yet. Sorry. Get in touch with the show. Hello at evnewsdaily.com, or leave a comment on the YouTube show. There are 847 previous shows. You can get them for free in the archive. The blog is evnewsdaily.com. The premium partners of the show are Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group, Porsche of the Village in Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East, and now nationalcarcharging.com and allohacharge.com. Have a wonderful day. Catch you soon, and remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.